Yeah. All right. So good morning to you guys in the room and good morning to people online. We are going to get started with this morning's board training. And Rosie, could you, do you have your laptop?
I do.
I was thinking if you monitored the chat feature, that might be really helpful to me. And I know that'll take a minute to set up, so that's not a problem. So a couple of announcements before I share my screen. I thought we could do quick introductions in the room, and I'll let everyone on the webinar know kind of how this is going to work. And I have a couple of announcements. So first of all, this is one of 2 board trainings for Main Street and affiliate communities that we are doing every year. We are contractually obligated to do that with our Main Streets and affiliates, and we are doing today's here in Skowhegan, in the Skowhegan Main Street office, as they are preparing for their Brew Fest. So I'm sure everybody is all hands on deck here. The next board training will be in January, and the location to be determined, but we will go to another Main Street or affiliate community that invites us. I guess we'll start with quick introductions. I'm Ann Ball. I'm a program director at MDF, overseeing the Maine Downtown Center. And I'm not going to turn the computer because I don't want to undo all the cords that we set up to make this work today. So with me, you can just shout out your names.
I'm Rosie Van Adestein, and I'm a program director with MDF.
And let me know online if you can't hear. Most of the questions or comments that come from the room, we will repeat so that you should be able to hear us.
I'm Daryl White, board member, Main Street.
Great, thanks, Daryl.
I'm Kerry Tyson. I'm the Director of Community and Economic Development for the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments and a board member for Discover Downtown Westwood.
Great, thanks for coming.
That's me.
That's you.
Christina Cannon, Main Street Skowhegan Executive Director.
Great, Christina Cannon.
I'm Emily Eckhart, Chief of Staff at Maine Greens and brand new board member.
Oh, you're with Mainly Grain, so you work for Amber.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks for coming.
So Brady Meisner, I work for Skowhegan Savings Bank, and I am a board member and vice president of the board.
Great.
Say with the questions again.
Thank you.
Fawn Wentworth, Skowhegan Savings, and I'm also a Main Street Skowhegan board member.
Great. Thank you guys for coming. And are you all new board members? Some of you, have you ever had board training?
Not official board training like this.
Yeah. Okay. You've been on the board. I feel like I've met you before.
You may have,
Yeah.
I don't know, what am I, second year?
Okay.
Year?
Okay, great.
I'm still a rookie.
Deb, I see your comment that it's hard to hear the panelists, and I'm going to do my best to kind of relay what they're saying. You know, we're testing out the technology here, and hopefully you can hear me, and I will relay what they're saying. So we are done with the chitter chatter. We're going to get going. We are recording this. We have 20 people on the webinar this morning, and if you are not able, other board members in your group aren't able to make it, you can share the recording with them afterwards, or they can come in January to a live event. You should all see the chat feature on the right side of your screen. That is where you will type questions. You are all on mute, those of you on phones or on your computers. So I think those were my only announcements. The only other thing I want to tell you is September 10th, we have one of our short learning opportunity webinars coming up, and it's specifically on community visioning. 45 minutes, 8 to 8:45 in the morning. We'll be doing that at the MDF office. So if there are people there in person, you will be able to see them and hear them a little bit more. I think that's it. I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And Rosie, are you in the system? Okay. Okay. Do you need the Wi-Fi code?
Oh, I might need that.
Okay, there you go. And for the moment, I think we'll do fine monitoring the questions. All right. So let me share the screen. Okay. All right, this is where you are. You're in a board training, everyone. Welcome. So today we're gonna try something kind of fun. So as much as I don't want you to be distracted, take out your handheld devices and text to the number 22333, text Ann Ball 228, and you will join the meeting. And if you don't have a handheld device, that's okay. But if you have one, we're gonna do a few polls about halfway through to make this presentation a little more interactive. Most of the polls will just have one response, so you don't answer multiple times. Okay, so when a poll comes up, you're literally just gonna text it in. So to those of you in the room, are you in? Carrie's in.
Yes.
All right, that's all right. Like I said, those of you that want to participate, it'd be great. Thank you. I can't not thank our many wonderful sponsors that allow us to work with all of you and support our work at the Maine Downtown Center. What we're going to do today, it's a lot to get through. It'll be a little fast. Some of the slides are a little too text heavy. I will blow right through those, but the slides will all be available after the fact. So we're really going to talk about the structure of the Main Street program, National Main Street, and try to give you an understanding of how your local programs fit in, and then talk about some best practices as far as being a board member and what a working Main Street board looks like. Because a lot of people think, oh, I just vote for the budget, or I just, you know, raise money, and it's actually a lot more than that. So we will talk about that. As you all know, downtowns really are about quality of place. We are in another river community. This is Augusta. And we are in Skowhegan with a river community. And I'm going to start out by showing you this video. I have to do a little rearrange of my screen to do that, so bear with me. Okay. Some of you may have seen this. Those of you in the room, have you seen this video before? No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Main streets are the heart of our communities. They're our nation's gathering places, places of shared memory, celebration, and economic activity. They represent the core American principles of ingenuity, inclusion, and creativity. Yet over the years, main streets have faced many challenges, from suburbanization to the deterioration of historic buildings to the changing face of retail. While these challenges are formidable, today's main streets are resilient. Through hard work, planning, commitment, and action by local volunteers and leaders, main streets across America are thriving.
Main Street stands for a revitalized America.
Downtown is important because it's the heart and soul of any community. If you don't have a healthy downtown, you simply don't have a healthy town.
Everybody knows what it's like when the public square is actually working and thriving. People are buying goods, they're walking back and forth. We all know what it's like to be in a community like that on a Saturday. The sun is shining and you just feel great about being in a Main Street.
Main Street America is a nationwide movement with a proven track record of revitalizing older and historic downtowns and neighborhood commercial districts. The Main Street America Network brings together thousands of passionate local leaders who contribute their time, energy, and ideas to building more vibrant and sustainable communities.
Entrepreneurs have been the backbone of the American economy for 240 years. And I know that whether it's in the furthest rural corner of the country to a commercial district right in the heart of Chicago, there are men and women with desires to open their own business. What Main Street does is it helps to create the environment in which those businesses are a little bit easier to get up off the ground, and those businesses are more likely to succeed.
Main streets are once again the incubators of small business and the launching pad of entrepreneurs. Great ideas are nurtured in communities that appreciate the value of local. The Main Street American Network knows how to encourage these pioneering businesses and how to create the environment to help them prosper.
This is a time-tested, comprehensive, market-based, and community-led approach, which has been employed in over 2,000 communities over the last 40 years.
If you want to see America grow, if you really want to see America grow, look at Main Street. Being a part of a network like this, you get to share best practices across all kinds of markets. There may be plenty of areas that are different than yours, but somewhere out there, there's a market that's very, very similar. If you can study what they've done, then you can learn about it.
Successful economic development today is not about what you don't have, it's about what you do have. And one of the things that Main Street has done is made people aware of what the value of downtown historic buildings and how a small incremental approach to redevelopment can be the best approach. Too many communities for years thought economic development was all about the one big thing. But successful economic development is much more frequently about lots of small things working synergistically together off of a plan that makes sense. And so Main Street at its core is about creating a plan for the future.
Today, people are seeking out communities with character and places where they feel connected. Main Street America downtowns and districts are places to raise families, start new businesses, build community, and forge the future.
All right. Hold on, people. I'm getting back to where we need to go. All right, great. Okay. So thanks for watching that video. It's a great kind of overview about what this is all about. And Ed McMahon, who you saw in the video, has been to Maine a number of times. He's the one who talks about the next best thing. And he's been to Westbrook. I forget if you were there, Carrie, when he was there. Yeah. So Deb Shamgra, I know, is the president of the Westbrook Main Street program, and she met him as well, and he's great, and really talks about, you know, Anywhere USA and really the value of the work that you're all doing. So you guys know this stuff. Your main streets have high property values, a higher property value often than other areas. They're service centers, they're walkable. You guys in Skowhegan have, you know, your river, which you're developing in so many ways, and the bridge, that little walking bridge, does that have a name? That little walking?
The walking.
Oh, it's called the walking bridge. So anyway, you guys know all of this. These downtowns are really economic hubs for your communities and often for the regions. So the way the structure of the program works is the National Trust for Historic Preservation has the National Main Street Center as a program, or I think it has another name now, like it's an affiliate or something. And then there are coordinating programs all over the state, of which the Maine Downtown Center is one of those coordinating programs. And then locally, we have Main Streets, of which Skowhegan is one, and then we have affiliates. So that's kind of how the structure works. And the National Main Street Center started as like a demonstration project in 1977 as like, let's try out this connection between preservation and economic development. And so it grew, and this is here where we are today. And this is really, you know, what we remind communities all the time. You're really focusing on historic preservation and economic development. There are over 1,600 main streets all over the country of, again, what Skowhegan is a nationally accredited main street. And it is a known brand, the whole Main Street America or National Main Street. We know from both our Maine Office of Tourism Research and national research that travelers seek out these communities. They are more vibrant, interesting, walkable, all the things that we just went over.
What's the difference between green and blue?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Oh, I think it's, I forget, Christina, now that you're asking me. The yellows are
Maybe
the,
affiliate.
it's not, it's something. These are all the main streets. I'll have to find out for you.
Some of them are urban main streets.
Oh,
and
right.
some
So
of them
urban
are-
Maine is part of it, right? So those are probably the yellows, if I had looked at them, which is a new program, just a few years old. So I have to figure out
affiliates
the
in
blue.
main streets.
I don't know if
No,
it's
because we
affiliates
have-
because our affiliates aren't listed in Maine. So we'll have to find out and let you know. So to be nationally accredited, you do have 10 performance standards. So every year, the Maine Downtown Center with members of our advisory council visit our main streets and their boards. Some of you may have participated in this process, and we literally look at all these things and check in and see how you're doing. That's part of what we do for you to stay accredited is we do an annual assessment is what we call it. And Skowhegan's doing great, as are all of our communities. So the 4-point approach, the Main Street approach, this 40-year-old approach is really kind of a 3-part process. It's really community visioning, market understanding. So what will the market support in your community? And then from that, a community develops transformation strategies that works through the 4 points: design, organization, promotion, and economic vitality. And so those are like your guiding principles, those transformation strategies. And then on the other side is really measurement. How do you prove that this is working to your community, to your municipality? Why is the investment worth it? And so we are collecting quantitative and qualitative outcomes that we will talk a little bit about. So the Downtown Center, as I said, is the coordinating program, and we happen to be housed at Maine Development Foundation, which is a wonderful place for us to live. Nationally, many of the coordinating programs are housed in their state departments of economic development or their state historic preservation offices. Carrie's was in your preservation office in Arkansas. He was a statewide coordinator. So in Maine, we're at MDF, which is, I think, a pretty amazing place for us to be because MDF is a nonprofit economic development organization that does economic research and leadership training and workforce development. And so all of that stuff matters to downtowns. And so really, when Yellow Green, our CEO, talks about the Downtown Center, he's like, it's all of us rolled up into what's happening at the local level. You know, you guys need leadership. It's really, you don't survive without leadership. We look at everything from, workforce issues to housing issues. And, we do measures of growth. And then at the Downtown Center, we do other types of economic research. So it is a great place to kind of live out economic development at the local level. It's pretty cool how that works. So the services we provide, training and technical assistance, and continually seeking funding. As I said, we do the assessments. We provide scholarships to attend leadership training, whether it's the Institute for Civic Leadership or the Leadership Maine program. And we share the reinvestment statistics. And we would love it if someone from Skowhegan, whether it be Christina someday or a board member, would participate in one of our leadership programs. They are an amazing experience. In fact, I know, I think someone from Skowhegan Savings has participated in Leadership Maine before. And anyway, so it's a great program. And some additional benefits that are really important to the communities. I mentioned the cultural tourism connection, but if you apply for CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant, you get an extra 3 points on your application. We're constantly looking for opportunities for our main streets. Project Canopy is a project that provides funding for trees in communities. Belvedere Historic Preservation Fund, I sit on the review committee for that, and I also provide technical assistance for the energy efficiency applicants. So I'm constantly working with communities, and we just had a review last week, and there were a number of Main Street and affiliate communities that had properties that were in the application pool. Also, a couple weeks ago, I served on the electric vehicle charging station review committee, which was also really cool because I think there were 3 applications from Skowhegan for charging stations. And so for that group, their energy efficiency people, their transportation people, I was able to overlay, well, that's a national main street. That means there's a lot to do in that downtown. It's a vibrant downtown. And by putting an EV charging station there, you could actually leave your car and go to the downtown. So we're constantly trying to connect our main streets to other things that are happening around the state. Here's the map of all our communities. And I can tell you that in this case, yellow is National Main Street, red is our affiliates, and purple are community connections. There are programs that we work with or they used to be in our program and we're still coaching them in different ways. So here are the designated main streets. GAMSA means the Great American Main Street Award. It's a pretty big deal. Bath was named that. It wasn't in 2001. I don't remember what year they got it. And hopefully someday we'll have another GAMSA winner from Maine, but it's a big application process. I'm hoping somebody will apply soon. Biddeford consider it this year, but soon. And
Official name is Main Street.
oh, what's it listed as?
Just Skowhegan Main Street.
Oh, okay, we'll fix that. I can tell you where I got that slide from, but I won't. Okay, so our affiliates.
I can only get
17 affiliates. They are primarily all volunteer. They are, many of them housed in their municipalities as a committee of an economic development director or a community development director. But some of them are standalone nonprofits. Westbrook was an affiliate and then they applied to become a Main Street. You do have to enter the program by being an affiliate first before you apply to become a Main Street. Bucksport actually has a part-time director as an affiliate, which is really amazing that the community and the municipality are able to support that. And it will be wonderful if someday some of our other affiliates could have staff because they all need it and want it, but it's a big step. So the expectations on your end, there's a little downtown Skowhegan photo. That's right. So you guys are expected to follow that Main Street model. You are expected to have broad-based community support, which just looking at, the 4 board members in the room, we can see some of that broad-based support. Expected to develop work plans, have active board of directors and committees and bylaws because you are standalone 501c3 organizations, and maintain professional and paid staff. So the affiliates are really expected to do these same things, that just some of the terminology is different. They're not required to have paid staff, but they should have some sort of active board of directors or committee with some sort of subcommittee structure. Operating budgets, ongoing training, or making training available through us to the local organizations, boards and committees, reporting on key statistics and projects to us, and being a current member of the National Main Street Center. Our Main Streets are all members and our affiliates are all members at this point. And attend trainings and maintain that quality preservation ethic. So diving into the Main Street 4-point approach a bit. So you typically have the 4 committees, although the committee structure is flexible and has become more flexible, and I know Skowhegan has adopted that model. And I don't know what you refer to your Brewfest committee as, Christina. Do you refer to it as just a Brewfest committee, or is it like a working group, or?
It is a Brewfest committee is a subcommittee of our organization community engagement committee.
Okay,
Which
so
is a combination of org and promotion.
okay, so let me see if I have this right for those on the webinar. In Skowhegan, they have a community engagement committee, which is a combination of organization and promotion, and then they have a subcommittee of that group that works on Brewfest.
And for every other event.
And for every other event. And the thing I often put up this example to our Main Street and affiliates, because what I like about it is that we all know that volunteerism isn't what it looked like 30 years ago. Someone doesn't come into an organization and say, yes, I'm going to volunteer with you every day, every week, you know, for 10 years. You know, volunteers are pulled in many different directions, just everything is different. So what Christina's model at Skowhegan allows, and what I really like about it, is allows a volunteer to say, I'm volunteering for on that committee for that event for 6 months, and then I'll see you later. And they can come back again or not. So would you say you have good engagement with your volunteers and committees because of that flexible approach?
Yeah. And it just allows people to volunteer for things they're interested in.
Yep, and that's a good point. And Christina added that it allows volunteers to volunteer for what they're interested in. So keep that in mind about the committee structure. National has become a little more flexible with that in recent years.
But like oversight by that parent committee. Gets to
Absolutely.
still make sure that
Right, so that there's still a connection.
to something higher.
You're absolutely right. So there's still a connection between that committee, they're not totally rogue, right? And the actual board of directors, very important. Yeah, and all of this work you guys are doing does require collaboration. There's some statistic that like 91% of nonprofits engage in collaboration. And that's just such a good thing. I mean, you can't do the work you need to do without collaboration. I'm sure you all have, whether it's partners or teaming up. I'm trying to think of an example of, I don't know, Carrie, do you have an example of good collaboration in Westbrook?
Well, I mean, our Feast of the Falls event we did the
Feast
other
of the
day,
Falls,
we
yep.
partnered with 5 different restaurants.
There you go.
And a variety of other partners to get everything from tents to tables to.
Right, okay. So Carrie said in Westbrook, they did Feast of the Falls where they partnered and collaborated with 5 other restaurants. Another idea that I love out of Biddeford is, and I'm not going to say it right, Delilah, it's called the Community Super. And I'm not going to even say it right, so she can type in if I'm not doing it right. The Community Super, if I have it right, is a group of, I think it's students, make bowls of soup, make bowls, right? And so they have artwork. And then someone else makes the soup. And then you come and you buy a bowl and all the money goes to like the local soup kitchen, right? So instead of a community supper, it's a community super and you get a bowl. I don't know if I'm right, but I think that's about what it is.
Really good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea and it is collaborating, and I love that the Main Street organization is giving to a social service organization that really needs support. So, so the way this whole 4-point approach works, as I said, you have to work in 4 areas. It doesn't have to be 4 standing committees, as I said. So let's say, for example, that you as a community have said, we are going to focus on the arts in our downtown. So what does that really look like? So in design, it might mean that you are appointing artists to committees in the Historic Preservation Commission or on the town council, or you're looking at creative strategies for benches downtown or creative crosswalks. You're thinking about the design things, but you're overlaying that transformation strategy of arts. Organization, electing artists and craftspeople to your board and engaging arts groups through collaboration. So in Skowhegan, you guys have the Skowhegan School of Art, which is pretty amazing if you were an arts thing. Anyway, promoting arts events, marketing with arts themes, art walks, and then economic vitality. You can go really a step deeper and look at, wow, what do we need to really support the arts community and really change the economy? It could be live work studios and working with your municipality on you know, zoning issues or whatever it is to make that happen, or incentives, economic incentives for those businesses to actually locate downtown. So this is kind of how the 4-point approach plays out. So another possible way to play out a transformation strategy is through aging in place. We have a number of affiliates and Main Streets that are working on aging in place initiatives. So their Main Street organization may say, okay, we've got to install benches and have accessibility issues. We're going to address those downtown. Again, electing a senior advisory board to your Main Street board, figuring out how to engage that population in the work you're doing downtown. I love this idea for promotions like home deliveries, or like your library having a delivery system for seniors. And then economic vitality, really looking at senior housing, social opportunities, and really how to engage that population. Relationships, just, you know, this is part of the collaboration issue. It's relationships and stakeholders, you know, work on something, walking tours with your chamber, or an art walk with your, you know, senior high school art class. I mean, so many different ways to have these relationships and think about all the people downtown. This is a great case study from Augusta. It's an old one, but it's a good one. This is a fraternal space, that second and third floor, that was really never used. People were like, what is it? Oh, it's the Masonic Hall, no one's allowed in, but they engaged the Masonic Hall, they cleaned up the space, and they had like a dinner up there, and they had all the money raised to go to the new Main Street group when they were launching. So think about those underutilized spaces in your communities that, do you think I can shut the door? Oh, okay, that's okay. So anyway, think about those underutilized spaces in your downtown and what that means about relationships and stakeholders, and, you know, this whole approach really has 8 principles for success. You heard in the video them talk about incremental, and that's just one of the really important ones for me. This work doesn't happen overnight, and those little steps can make such a difference. Can anyone either on the webinar want to type in an answer, or here in the room give an example of any of these 8 principles or incremental things you've done that really small but mighty? No examples? Okay, that's all right. I think it's as small as, you know, some of the things like, I have a slide at the end I'll show you. It's like fishing rods in planters in downtown Gardner. And they hung little hand-painted fish off the fishing rods. And it was just a really fun, vibrant display that they put out. And it was simple, but it just brought the downtown to life. And the other thing that I always add to this list is, I think number 9 should be patience. Because you sometimes have people on the boards who are used to moving at a faster speed. Maybe they come from a corporate background, and this work just doesn't work that way. So celebrate the little successes. So the board of directors, or a downtown committee in the case of an affiliate, is typically 9 to 13 members. They're active, they're working. This is, you know, they have often work outside of the meetings. As you see there, it says they typically devote 5 hours a month exclusive of meetings. So, and the board, not the program director, takes the full responsibility for the program. And I'm sure many of you have heard this before. Workers, wisdom, and wealth are the 3 big W's. My predecessor added warrior. I guess there probably is already always one warrior, but that does provide a balance, I suppose.
You also have like the one person that's like, we shouldn't spend that money.
Do we have insurance?
And like, that's
Is that you? So what's happening in the room, to those of you on the webinar, is that there is a self-identified Skowhegan Main Street member who is the one always saying, do we have insurance? Should we have the money to spend on that? So that's good. That makes a good balanced board. So don't sweat your label. So some core board functions, I think you guys all know this. I think the big one on here that I think most organizations should pay a little more attention to is succession planning. I can't remember, did that come up in your assessment?
We have.
You do, okay. It's another community I'm thinking of. Our Main Street directors in particular and our affiliate leadership, often it's a lot of information that's in one person's head. That's not good. So, you know, here at the downtown center, we have sample succession plans, or we have lots of examples in the field that we can share, but really, this is something important for boards to think about. We know that Rockland Main Street's director is retiring. They're going to be hiring a new one, and they're kind of doing it as they go right now. I think Gordon is focused on a lot of like, let me get all this information down about what happens every month of the year so that the next person will know. But it's so much more important to give, you know, leadership and directors space to like get that content down, not under the crunch, like in a methodical way. And Rockland is having time to do that, but, and then just literally, you know, not to be dark, but if someone is like, you know, hit by a bus, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then what happens, right? And that succession planning also includes the technical stuff, like access to the computers and to the banks and to the safe deposit box and whatever else. Carrie, I noticed you nodding your head with succession planning. Do you have anything to add?
Well, passwords. I mean, that's
Passwords. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
It's like people leave and you don't know how to
Right.
get into stuff.
Right. So it's really important, and it's not as fun and it's not as sexy as maybe engaging the community, but it's really important. So I'd pull that one out of that list. And really your responsibilities, you know, on the board, hiring and managing staff. How does it work in Skowhegan, Christina? Is there one board member that's kind of the HR person who checks in on with you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Directly in
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Our staff reports to me.
And you've heard that expression that Main Street directors should have only one boss, not the 13-member boss. You can't have all the board members like going to Christina saying, well, I think you should do this and this. You know, it really needs to be. And I think Westbrook is that way as well. Abigail primarily.
I'm not trying to be the boss.
Yeah, well, everybody has that problem. But Abigail is primarily reporting to the president, right, Carrie? Yeah, okay. I know.
Gretchen's saying,
Yes.
Gretchen does a great job of that in Bath for Amanda.
Oh, she does. That's right. And Gretchen Yeager in Bath is the president and works with Amanda, who's the director. And so that's great. That's a great model for success for all of you guys. So as a board member, you know, these are kind of the pledge you take. I will say that I am encouraging Main Street and affiliate boards to have a letter of commitment or a letter of agreement that the board member signs when they come on the board that includes conflict of interest and also includes how to represent the organization in the public, and an agreement that they will not represent the organization when they have not been given permission to represent the organization, I think is the best way to put it. Do you guys have a letter of agreement with your board member? I have some great examples. I'm happy to, in fact, maybe we will make a note, Rosie and I will, to actually share that as a follow-up because I think it's a really important thing. Oops, I see two people, Rosie, have said.
I don't have one.
Okay, hold on. We see. I
I
saw.
must be replying to just you as the.
Oh, how do I deal with that?
I'll
Hold on.
I'll text them all to. make sure that you
Okay,
follow.
thanks. Because two messages
Yeah,
came up and they
And
disappeared.
I can't see them because they write to you.
So yes, so some kind of letter of a commitment or agreement with board members. It may sound like overkill, but I think we know from experience that one, conflict of interest can arise, and two, sometimes board members are thinking they're doing the best for the organization, but they might be representing the organization, but the board doesn't know. So that happens too. They're trying to, okay, chat. Here we go. Deb Shangraw says we do in,
Yeah, it was just me
Yep,
sending it to
okay,
so that I can
great.
send it.
Thanks. Yeah, when you guys are posting, I totally appreciate that. Those of you on the webinar, just make sure that you are posting it to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists and not to just me. That way we can catch what you're saying. Thank you. So let me close the chat feature. Okay, great. Okay, it's time for our first poll. What fun. Okay, so if those of you that have your phones, all you're gonna do is go back to that number you texted, the 22333 on your phones. And the question is, do you know what your organization's mission is? Ooh, so far. We'll give it a couple minutes.
I don't know one for word.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hey, the poll is working. Great. Okay. As you will see from my next slide, I think everybody's probably had a chance to respond. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Do you have an elevator speech about your organization to use out in the community? So you said, I kind of can say what the mission is. Can you talk about it? Can you, if someone says to you, what do you do? What does that organization do?
We talk about putting that out in writing. We did that, didn't we? Didn't we make like a thing and have the?
Any other responses?
We don't know word for word verbatim, but
No, but we.
Great. So a great thing for board members to do is to have like a role-playing exercise and just literally pretend someone up on the street says, what do you do for them? And it looks like a lot of people on the poll actually do have an elevator speech. It just has to be 2 lines or 3 lines. But it's a great reminder so that you all can talk about what you do. And then some people say, what's a national Main Street? I mean, so you kind of really want to be able to connect the dots. Say, well, it's a national program. Skowhegan is nationally designated and accredited every year. And we work on downtown revitalization in the spirit of historic preservation. Or, you know, you guys come up with it. But okay. So what are some ideas? This is a... this isn't a yes, no, maybe. This is actually words. What are some ideas to keep the organization's mission alive? What can you, the board, do? Do you have any ideas for things you could do? I have a lot of ideas, but I want to see if you guys have any ideas. You can tell me your idea, Christina. I could, oh, I can't type it in.
We are going to review the mission in our retreat this fall.
Okay, recruitment of volunteers, good one.
And I know we're supposed to review it annually, which the staff does, but this year the board's going to.
Tell mission moments at monthly board meetings.
good.
That's a good one. Be out and about in the community. I like it. Succession planning, okay. Coordinate with other organizations in the area. Great. Good. All right, I have no, Carrie, did you say that?
Maybe, I don't know.
All right, engage the community. Revisit the mission annually to make sure we're delivering. Great. Attend public meetings and be actively involved. These are great. Awareness among the community, we're new. Great, huge. Another idea I'd add to this is you could have the mission moment at your board meeting, but you could also put mission moments on your social media, celebrating one aspect of your mission or the 4-point approach. You could also put some sort of mission moment in your newsletter if you have any sort of communication like that too. So these are great ideas. Thank you guys for playing with my polls.
Amanda also said have a volunteer coordinator.
Yeah, well, we got one text in that said have a volunteer coordinator as well. That's great. Okay. A few other discussion items related to the board or to the committee. What's your appointment, your selection, your nomination process? You just want to make sure that you follow your bylaws if you have bylaws, or have a system if you are an affiliate and you are a committee. You really want to make sure that you are changing leadership and bringing in new people with new perspectives and information. So however you want to bring in that new blood, it's really important to do. New member orientation, ideally, so you're the newest board member here, not to put Christina out in the world, but any sort of formal, okay. Is it something you normally do? I know it's the eve of Brewfest.
So Emily just was voted in 2 weeks ago.
Okay, great,
So,
great.
however, what I had planned on doing after this,
Yep.
you're going to move to the retreat, so everyone gets it.
Okay,
So
great.
I'm gonna take what you have done here.
Yep.
And incorporate it into the Skowhegan model.
Okay.
To share that.
So Christina is going to take the information that we're presenting here and bring some of that into her board retreat, which happens to be happening this afternoon. What?
We're moving it.
Oh.
That was.
Okay.
People cannot make.
Oh, understandable. Okay. So whenever that is. New member orientation can be as simple as here's a packet that includes all the list of the board members' names and contact information. Here's, our social media platforms, like, kind of that housekeeping stuff. And then it could also be trying to figure out like where this person's interest lies, what they might want to do for the organization, how they'd like to be involved, how much time they have, really trying to figure out what their role is going to be. So that's, that orientation can take many different forms, but it's important that the director and or a board member with a little more experience spend a one-on-one or with that new board member to welcome them in. Anybody else have anything to add on, Rosie, do you, or Carrie, on board member orientation? New member, just an important thing.
Yeah, the booklet or packet is always.
Right, with a copy of the bylaws and work plans, exactly. Great, budget, all that stuff. Yeah, giving them a notebook with your logo right on it is a great way for them to keep track of stuff. Term limits. As hard as term limits are, it is best practices to have term limits, without a doubt. It's one of those things. Just like you need a process for bringing people on to your board or committee, you also need to have a process for rotating people off. It's not meaning that they're doing a bad job, but sometimes they are. So there are reasons for term limits, and they're really important to have. Do you have systems for retaining the wisdom when people rotate off? So maybe your best person ever rotates off and there they go. What about that knowledge in their head? Well, you could have someone be ex officio, meaning they could serve on the board or their committee, but they're not allowed to vote, but they provide that institutional knowledge transfer. You could have senior advisors. At the Downtown Center, I have a 17-person advisory council, professionals, and they have 3-year terms, and then they rotate off after 2 3-year terms. And some of them choose to become senior advisors for 1-year terms, and that's how we retain that wisdom. So something to think about. Okay, here's another poll. Think about your boards that you have come from, or are your committees that you're representing today. What skills or representation do you currently have on your board? So it could be skills, it could be, gender, age. Like, think about some of the diverse or not information, people that you have. Oh. Okay.
What's a word?
Oh, it's a Wordle. Capacity, voice. Okay, I'm confused about how my Wordle is working here.
They're just typing.
Political differences, yep. Millennials, that's a good one. Marketing expertise, that's a needed one, yes. Financial, yep, good. promotion,
always good.
age. Yeah, political is good. Different professions, business professions, municipality, legal, excellent.
The big ones are the ones that have.
Yeah.
Marketing is staying big.
Yeah, I think marketing is big. Technology, that's a good one.
That is.
I know a lot of organizations need help with technology, whether it's social media or whether it's actual day-to-day technology.
Nonprofits.
And nonprofit, you're right, Rosie. These are great representation, but also really enlightening to me to say, oh my gosh, you know, I hadn't thought about, you know, having another nonprofit development person on your board, but what a great idea. If it's not a conflict of interest, go for it. Great. Yeah, marketing and legal are standing out as the big ones, everybody. Thank you for participating in that. Leadership, committees, and staff. Hallmarks of leadership. Think about that as you're thinking about succession planning, not only with your staff, but also with your leadership, your actual officers. You know, do the people have, are they inspiring? Are they empowering? Are they collaborative? Do they celebrate, you know, the success that's happening on your board? It's really important. People don't want to come and, you know, not feel good about what they are doing. Roles of the committees or the working groups, implementing the activities. I'm thinking of one of your your event committees, Christina. So here in Skowhegan, as we said, they may have one committee devoted to planning an event. They're doing all of these things. Do you have your subcommittees like those planning Brewfest? Do they have a work plan or a timeline, I guess is maybe a better?
So our committees are directed by staff.
Right.
And so a staff comes with an agenda based on the timeline of the event. So,
Okay.
Something new we're working on this year, and we're going to do it at our staff retreat, is an event life cycle.
Okay. So
that
Christina said she's going to do an event life cycle at her board retreat, staff retreat. So explain to me what an event life cycle is.
So for our project coordinator, she will have a calendar, if you will, to use. So in January, she needs to do X, Y, and Z for this event,
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z for this event, and X, Y, and Z for this event. Because we have, so for Brewfest, we have to start planning that very far in advance.
So it's a calendar tied to tasks,
Exactly,
kind of.
yeah.
Okay, so that actually is a work plan in my mind. So it sounds like your sub groups, as directed with staff, do have work plans, just maybe not officially
Yeah,
called.
well, this year will be official.
Yeah, great, great. Committee chairs, as we were just discussing, are really key because they make that connection to the board and they report back and forth to each other. And it's really important that be clear, because you can't have a committee just working off on their own without kind of connecting it back to the mothership. Staff, we have one of these directors in the left-hand corner. Delilah is still at Heart of Biddeford, but the rest have moved on. But anyway, Main Street's requiring professionally trained and supported directors. The role of the director, the one boss, we've already discussed that. They have to have a lot of energy. They really administer this entire program. Oh, I see a couple things coming in. Anything? Okay.
It takes a minute for them to populate.
Okay, well, we'll see what they come in. All right. And staff as a partner and a team support. So really, you know, this is kind of the boundaries of what the director is supposed to do, right? They're not taking the lead, you know, they're not the boss of the volunteers. They're working in all these areas, but the board members are really playing these roles, and that's a really important distinction. That's why you have a committee chair. So theoretically, you know, the committee chair and the staff work together to oversee those committees. And in the affiliates right now, we're working really hard to make sure that affiliates, they often are run by municipal staff, but we think it's really important that they have what we're referring to as civilian staff. So a community member that is helping support that downtown committee, because it really needs both hats, and it's similar to this model presented here. Great Main Street director. Too many words, but I think all of that, right? Christina, can you do all of those things?
And more.
Yeah.
Way too short.
The list is short, yes.
I think passionate is probably the number one
That's what I said.
thing for Main Street.
Passionate, great. So we need to add that in there. We will add passionate, I totally agree. And I think they have to have a sense of humor to get through the day.
And patience.
And patience.
And local beer.
Yeah, you're right. I think we have lots to add to this list. Work plans. This is an old slide, and I just want to show it to you because it basically makes the connection between kind of the board of directors and their vision or their goals for the organization, and then how the committees actually set their work plans and their goals, but they relate back to those overall organizational goals. So that's really what the slide illustrates. And as I said, it is an old slide also because it's referring to it as an ER committee instead of an EV committee, which is economic vitality. I wasn't able to edit it, but I think you get the point. It just all has to connect. And I don't know that everybody's board of directors sets annual goals for the organization, and really sometimes they do because they are the organization committee, but I think it's great to have overall goals for the organization and then have the committees have their individual goals and relate them all together. At our office, we are using Smart Sheets this year as a tool to do our work plans. And I've got to get on that. So work plans, they're your roadmaps. They really are important. And as Carrie mentioned, include them in your board handbooks and keep them, because it's also a way to look back and say, wow, we really did get a lot done. That's the one thing I like about work plans. Sometimes I feel like I go months and I haven't gotten anything done, and then all of a sudden I do reflect back and I'm like, oh, I did do that. So they can make you feel pretty good as you move along, and you can tweak them if you need to. They are not meant to be static documents. You have your goals, but you do the best you can. Sharing them with your community and your important partners. Like if one of your major partners is your municipality who gives you a lot of money every year, it's great to share work plans with them. And show how your work is complementing them or helping them. Whoa, that's a weird one, that line. Okay, the reasons for a work plan. You guys know all of this. And then the next slide is really kind of the 7 components of the work plan. And these are pretty straightforward. I have sample work plans at our office if you need them, but it's basic stuff. Who's going to do it? How much is it going to cost? And when's it going to get done by? And you can make them simple. So all of this work you guys are doing does all of these wonderful things for your downtowns. And the work is really critical. I consider the downtowns a really big piece of the economic development pie in Maine in particular. And it's just great work. And I feel like I'm always so excited. I think Christina's heard me like refer to my Main Street as like my 10 children. Like they do something, or they get a grant, or they have a new employer coming to town, or a building gets renovated, and it just really excites me. So it's really amazing work, and it's important for Skowhegan, it's important for Somerset County, it's important for the state of Maine. So it literally, it's great work. And I think that's it. I think that's my last slide. Oh, a vibrant downtown, let's add that.
I know you had quality of place up there, but
Yeah.
placemaking has become such a buzzword.
It is.
I wonder if maybe adding it to that list would be.
Yes, placemaking is a big word. It's a big word in the grant making world. That's a great thing to add. So 2 more polls to end on. Why is it saying activate? This one may not work. I don't know if this one's gonna work, but we'll try. So what would you like your downtown organization to have accomplished in 5 years from now? Yeah, I have a feeling this poll might not be activated, but we'll see.
If our answers aren't the same, we're in trouble.
Well, we may be verbally going over this one because, like I said, I'm not sure that it's not working.
Because you haven't opened the poll yet.
Oh, all right. Well, that's a
Let's see if
mistake.
we also did the
All
same
right.
thing.
So why don't we shout out some things that you want your organization to accomplish in the next 5 years, and tell me if there are any answers on here, Rosie.
Run it, right?
Run of river.
Run of river. That is the big.
Good job, guys.
So big project in Skowhegan, Run of the River is, or is it Run of? No, the Run of the River, which is developing a whitewater recreational and competitive park right here in downtown, right? And let's see.
There's some coming in, paid staff.
Yep, paid staff.
Consistent volunteer
Base,
base.
yes.
Better name
Better name
recognition.
recognition. Those are great ones.
Something getting autographed.
Yeah, that's Delilah because we showed the picture of her.
Oh. That was from a while ago.
Delilah carries a Sharpie.
Financial stability, great goal.
Where Deborah and Dory from?
Yeah, Westbrook, right. Which is great. Getting the city committees and nonprofit groups working together. That's from Hollowell, where they have more city committees than I've ever heard of in another community in Maine. Kathy from Gorham, increase beauty and walkability of downtown. That's actually oh, and Brandy lost our audio. I don't know why that happened. Oh. As well, sorry about that. What will make
I just feel like it's
people in the room are
It's not just
no thus. On Brandy, I'm sorry that I don't know what's going on. end of um,
So I have a question. Tool for us, which is Slack.
oh,
And fundraising, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm?
Curious to steal other people's ideas. They have.
oh. Trello has the interactive shared Google Drive. Jamie in the room about the training.
Things, perhaps fundraising.
Annual fund to like, the bake sale, right? And so what is the board's role in that? And how to be like strategic about, even going so far as to like donor identification, or, I mean, we could do whatever you wanted.
I think to maybe for new members, basic, like Main Street is a 4-prong. These are the prongs we use.
Yep.
This is why. That went way over. I could tell
It
when
would be
she put
helpful.
the thing up.
It was over your head?
We'll
Well,
go
no.
over that.
Okay, because that was what that was supposed to be. But
Yeah, I think it's just,
it's a lot of information.
applying this information to our boards.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just so new. I
Yep.
don't have a whole lot of background yet, but I will get it.
Okay. Be more applicable to. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Great. So I'm going to wrap this up. We will send out some follow-up information to those on the webinar, and we will also send out like a quick 5 question evaluation. And yes, Deb, we will also include the slides themselves. So you'll have the slides, the recording, and then some of the handouts that we recommended. And then we will also send a short evaluation, and that's pretty much it. And if you are interested in hosting a board training similar to this in January on site with your board members, let us know. And I think that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Stop video. Stop recording.